Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Comic Book Late Night Unlimited. It is I, Captain Logan, and tonight I am going solo once again, and I'm going to tell you about stuff I bought last week, and we're going to look at some books coming out this week and see what things we might want to take a look at, explore things blindly together. I'm going to do a mini review, kind of a sign flip, best thing, worst thing review at the end of the show on the first few issues of Absolute Superman. The Super Chat winner last week chose that, which is not surprising. I figured we'd be talking a lot of Absolute on this show, and I'm pretty sure that was Dan Schneider. I didn't go back and look, but anyway, thanks to Top Super Chatter last week. I'm pretty sure that's who that was, and we will do the same thing again this week if there are any takers. Otherwise, of course, I will pick the next thing, and I have a couple of ideas, but I want to use this as a way to spread my wings and learn about new cool things that are going on in comics right now. So if you are so inclined, and of course don't feel like you have to if you're watching live right now, you can leave a super chat in a dollar amount through the show, and you can mention anything you want to there about new comics, of course, but whoever gets the top super chatter this week in a combination of super chats will get to choose the series that I sample next time. And once again, if you missed last show, the rules for that are it needs to be something that ended within the last 3 years or so. We want it to be relatively recent, and I'll fudge that if there's something you just really, really want me to talk about that's a little bit older than that. But want it to be relatively new. It needs to be a series that I haven't done yet on this show, so I'm going to ask people not to pick the next trade in something that I've already talked about. And it can be Big Two or anything independent. It can be superhero or not. Really, the sky is the limit on that. And I just want to try out some stuff that I might not otherwise think to, and review stuff that I probably wouldn't review otherwise, or that people just like with Absolute Superman, just want to hear my initial first reaction thoughts before I've had a chance to deep dive and do a comic vault on it. So I'm sure eventually Austin and I will talk about that book. Austin's in the comments right now. Hi, Austin. And the same might even be true of what I reviewed last week with Batman Dark Age. I imagine at some point I'll do a deep dive in that. Apologies if my voice goes out tonight. We did a 5-hour, I don't know how it lasted as long as it did, review last night on the new Superman film. We all in our panel enjoyed it quite a bit, and we had just tons and tons to say, as did the audience. There were a lot of super chats. Thanks a lot for the support last night that we had to tackle, and a lot of Patreon reviews. Let me also mention that I'm going to do the Patreon review thing, although it'll be a little bit simpler for this show as well. So if you have thoughts about Absolute Superman, you want to give me a best thing, worst thing, and a sign flip, you can go to patreon.com/geekvolution, and just the $2 tier will let you put in a review for that as well. And I also put feelers out on the Superhero Rewind Discord for that also, if you happen to be a $10 tier subscriber. But anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and look at what's coming out this coming week. And last week was a little bit of a slow week for me, so I'm not going to have a ton to show that's brand new. I do have a stack of other things like I did last week that I bought more recently, because I didn't go through the entirety of my recent acquisitions, or we would have been here all night last week. And I really can't be here all night tonight, because I will admit to being a little bit out of it after the insane show we had last night. But I wanted to keep the momentum moving with this, since I just started it last week. I want this to be a weekly show. I want us to look at the stuff happening tomorrow, so that you can run out to your local comic shop, support your local comic shop, and maybe grab something that looks fun. So here we go. I've not looked at this list at all yet, so we are checking this out together. And actually, apologies, before I do that, let me pop out the chat so that I can still see what you guys are saying as we look at this. real quick, I just want to see what else folks are saying. Thomas Lowe, still can't believe you managed to stream for 5 hours, Cap. The only explanation I have is that we made a joke about it going 6 hours, so naturally we got close. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at this. So, Absolute Batman number 10 comes out tomorrow. I am still just weirdly on the fence about whether I'm going to collect these in singles. I mentioned this last week. I keep going back and forth. I have already bought a couple of issues of Absolute Batman, or maybe just one, and an issue of Absolute Superman. I was going to get these in trade, but every time one comes out, I'm like, it'd be really nice to stack those in boxes. I am liking the covers a lot, and I do kind of want to keep up with these as they're coming out. On the other hand, I do think, especially Superman, but even Batman, better trade reads. Like, it's the kind of thing that I don't mind looking at once a month, month to month, because I'm kind of excited to see what happens. And then, like, not throwing shade at these at all, but little enough will happen in an issue that I just don't always remember what happens. What happened the last time I looked at it, and that's also probably just me getting older and having too much going on in my life, and these things not sticking with me as well as they used to. So, like, my plan was to just get these in trade, but I am tempted on a weekly basis with at least Batman and Superman, if not Martian Manhunter. And I haven't read Flash yet. I haven't read Wonder Woman yet. I'm hearing nothing but great things. I don't know that I have to collect those necessarily, but sometimes you'll read a thing and you'll go, I mean, I don't usually collect Flash, but this is one of the best things I've ever looked at. I have that with the Transformers series right now. I mentioned that last week. Anyway, speaking of, Absolute Flash number 5 comes out tomorrow. If you are keeping up with that, or if you want to get started on collecting those in singles and go back later and get the rest of them, so I will try to take a look at that sometime in the near future. I guess I need to prioritize the Absolute books because people keep asking about them, and I have been really curious about them. I've heard good things about the World's Finest book. I haven't looked at it yet. It is looking very Superman Batman to me, with just some of the silly things happening in these covers. And good on DC for allowing their books to go for as long as they have been lately. We're already at 41 with this, and the DC of 10 years ago would have rebooted by now, or remembered by now. Look, it's Bat Zorro. Everybody remember Bat Zorro? I have a Lego minifig somewhere of Bat Zorro, believe it or not. Ninja Turtles number 10. I can't believe we are already almost a year into this series. I might have mentioned this last week. I finally read the first issue of this series in preparation for the show last week, but I haven't gotten any farther than that. I have been buying them. I got the first issue when it came out, and then I think like 5 through current I've got, so I got to go back and pick up the first few before that. It's got a strong, intriguing opening with Raphael incarcerated, and the art in it is real gritty and back to basics, and just as splashy as it needs to be. I really like that first issue. I need to get caught up on it so that I can talk to you guys about it a little bit. What else is happening here? Batman and Robin Year 1. I don't know anything about this book. I think we've looked at this before. Imperial is a Marvel book that I don't know anything about. In fact, at first I assumed this was probably like an Image thing or something, and then looking closer at it, it looks like a cosmic Marvel, maybe real connected to Guardians and the kind of big space stuff. Yeah, because I think that's the Milano, or it's a Milano-like ship, and then of course you've got the is it the Inquisitor? Not the Inquisitor. What is his name? The guy from Guardians 1. I'm not even thinking of it right now. But anyway, I am, my brain is not functioning the best tonight. I will do my level best. Not the Inquisitor, that's Star Wars. What is that guy's name? Well, we all know who I'm talking about. Anyway, Nova and Star-Lord race to discover who's behind these evil acts, a journey that takes them to the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. What? Once again, it just feels like Marvel putting random stuff together. Ronin. It finally came to me. It took a while, but there it is. Anyway, what else is coming out tomorrow? So far, the stuff that I'm kind of tempted by, and I don't know if I've got anything coming out that's actually in my pull because I have started begrudgingly a pull list again. It doesn't look like it, but I am tempted to go ahead and get the next issue of Absolute Batman and start moving forward with that. And that World's Finest cover is intriguing. I might grab that. What else is happening here? Wonder Woman 23 comes out tomorrow. Exceptional X-Men, Spawn 366, just plowing forward, that Todd McFarlane, and he's got a ton of Spawn books that are. It seems like every week there's at least a couple. Eventually, I will check back in and review some of at least the offshoots. I keep seeing Gunslinger Spawn. I love the covers. I'm curious about that. McFarlane is writing that, I think, so like I don't imagine that it is great, but I can't help but be a little bit curious about it. Death of the Silver Surfer #2. I mentioned last week. I love this cover, and I might buy this just for the Dead Galactus cover. But the start of this book anyway was less space and cosmic related than I wanted it to be, and a lot more about and I don't know, jokier and not in a funny way than I was expecting. It was just a little bit too MCU for my taste. A lot more, Earth centric and centered on. God, I'm trying to even remember, like. I didn't care for this enough. It's not really sticking with me. I said that last week. But there's either a government agency or a corporation that is after Silver Surfer, I think. And it just wasn't grabbing me. But I don't know. Maybe it picks up in the second issue. So I might give it another shot. But that's only going to be, a miniseries. So if I give that 2 issues, then just for the sake of completion, I'm going to kind of be curious about, or it's going to be hard not to get the rest of it, I guess. Silver Surfer fights alone, hated and feared by the very humans his heart longs to aid. What is this, X-Men? Duels an array of rivals, hell-bent on his utter annihilation. Don't you hate it when that happens? Humanity awakens an ancient threat born of Silver Surfer's old master Galactus. So those idiots in the first issue I didn't like. Maybe just get their comeuppance in the next issue. And so Surfer must persist for the sake of both friend and foe, and for the good of Earth and the entire universe. Maybe that picks up. That synopsis sounds a little better. What else? Zatanna #6. DC has been bringing back a lot of singular character monthlies lately that we haven't seen in a while, which is cool. Deadpool and Wolverine #7, Predator vs. Spider-Man. I cannot keep up with just what characters are fighting Alien and Predator right now. I do find myself kind of curious to read this stuff at some point. I don't know that I need to own it, although you guys know me. If a cover is pretty enough and I've got an extra slot on my, comic budget that week, I might consider it. This is a cool cover. I like that Kraven is trying to hunt the Predator. That's kind of great. Maybe they're hunting each other, and then Spider-Man's stuck right in the middle. That's intriguing. That looks fun. The 20th Century logo always bugs me, just not having the word Fox in it anymore. Robin and Batman, Jason Todd #2. This I will pick up. I really liked the first issue, and I'm not doing a full-on review of that yet, but after this is over, I would definitely like to talk about it. I would recommend that. I really like the watercolor look for that story, and it's really well written. I really enjoyed that. Oh, you know what? It looks like I do have some things to get tomorrow because we got Crypto, The Last Dog of Krypton #2. I love that first issue. And spoilers for the first because this cover will spoil it. But the character that Crypto is picked up after Krypton explodes and he winds up on Earth is a young Lex Luthor, because this is an alternate history thing, as far as I can tell, and that was a real fun reveal at the end of that. I thought this was a monthly. Apparently it's just a mini-series, so I'm certainly going to go ahead and keep getting this since it's not as much of a commitment. I really like the art in that, and like I said before, I just thought it was real cute and fun. it will be hard not to be a little bit redundant on the show doing this week to week and talking about some of the same stuff. But I will do my level best. Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe, #1. I thought this had already started, but apparently not. This cover is great. I actually might consider grabbing that. I'm not a big Godzilla guy, but my kids will love that. And I cannot deny the epicness and the classic look of that cover. They've maybe sold me on that. Okay, tomorrow could be kind of a big day for me. It looks like there's at least 4 or 5 issues that I would grab. I'll check comments here in a minute when we finish this. Looks like Witchblade started back over not too long ago. That's a pretty cool, gnarly cover there. Witchblade's a thing that I've never read a ton of, but I always liked the premise, and I always thought the art was cool. What else is happening here? Superman Unlimited #3. I bought the first issue of a Superman book that just started that I talked about last week, but I don't think it was Unlimited. I think it was something else. I'm not sure what this book is doing. Something to do with Toyman. This is also real kind of classic looking. Naturally, of course, Crypto is just in everything right now because of the new movie. But I love all the love that Superman is getting in the comics right now, and just how classic status quo so much of that stuff is. Spider-Girl. Which Spider-Girl is this? She's fighting Lady Bullseye. That's cool, I suppose. Again, I haven't been real excited to grab like mainstream Marvel stuff lately. So, like Death of Silver Surfer 2, I will probably get, and maybe this Godzilla book. So that'll be the most Marvel I've bought in a long time. This ends tonight. Let's look at something not superhero. I wish this website, once again, I'm using leagueofcomicgeeks.com. Oh, no, I'm just an idiot. It does do that. I was going to say, I wish it would tell us what the publisher was, in case you can't see it on the cover, and you just see the image logo there. But sometimes you don't have that, or it's not, really easy to spot. But they have it actually right above the title up here, and I just didn't notice that before until right now. You guys just get to see all my lack of paying attention on a weekly basis. The pulse pounding comic event of the summer aims for your jugular. It's so easy to call anything you want to the comic event, the event of the summer. But it's Jai Lee. People love him, and Gary Dugan. Since tonight is the kickoff of 3 interconnected tales, crazy, of bloody revenge in Las Vegas. The debut issue stars 2 sisters hunted by assassins for their shocking family secret. It's an oversized, action-packed romp, and every panel is crushed with love by Jai. The series is completed. That's cool. So they finished the whole thing before they started publishing it. We've got some special guests, too. Stay tuned for a beautiful Adam Hughes variant and a sketch edition, too. That's cool. That does not sound like my thing at all, but I'm glad I mentioned it because somebody will probably find that interesting and want to grab it. Looks like New Avengers is doing Inhuman stuff again, maybe. Eddie Brock Carnage. Once again, you couldn't pay me to take that book, I don't think. Gotham City Sirens Unfit for Orbit #3. I might go back and get those. I'm not in love with the art, with what I've seen with that. I heard about this new Star Trek book, Red Shirts, comes out this week. I'm not buying IDW. What is this new IDW logo? This is very odd. It doesn't even have the W anymore. It looks like... the idea is it's an I, a D, and then it forms a W. That's awful. That's almost as bad as like the peel back DC logo. I don't know what we're doing there. But yeah, Star Trek's gotten just kind of nuts in IDW. Like, I certainly appreciate that they tried to create a shared universe and they used a little bit of everything, and they had a big like DS9 kind of crossover event where they brought Cisco back. from being um, with the wormhole aliens and all of that. And I read a little bit of that in digital, and it was kind of fun. It was pretty fanficky. And then it started integrating too much new track, and I couldn't get excited about it. And like it wasn't awful or anything, but I don't know, like pretty over the top and cartoony. But anyway, so this is the guy that was writing Defiant, which I read a few issues of. Start of an all new heart-rending start. See, I thought it said heartwarming for a second, and I was like, well, that's funny, because it looks like it's about people in Star Trek that are disposable and no one cares about, and they die. 5-issue miniseries, although that is a cool cover. I don't know what it is with me and like skeletons and zombies, but when I see them on covers, I get excited. Some of that comes from just childhood. I've got a couple of my earliest issues that I bought when I was a kid were kind of gnarly looking skeleton covers. Which is funny because I'm not really a big horror guy, but that always kind of grabs you with superhero comics where you're not expecting that, and it feels kind of edgy. Led by an experienced officer embedded, none of you guys are going to care about this, on the snow-ridden planet Arconia 89. Okay. The crew of the USS Warren has a small window of which to pin down spies seeking to steal classified secrets and keep Starfleet data out of their nefarious hands. They face threats not only from their faceless enemies, but from brutalizing elements and wildlife of a planet far from home. The Red Shirts' lives and Starfleet's sanctity are on the line, and no one is safe. Well, if you call a thing Red Shirts, everyone should die. I don't know. I might check that out. I don't usually buy Star Trek, like new Star Trek. I do own a lot of Star Trek in hardcover. Real quick, I'll see what else is happening here. Dynamite is doing a Space Ghost Johnny Quest crossover, which somehow I missed. My shop, and apparently a lot of shops, had a problem, a miscommunication for the last month or so, like 3 weeks to a month, with the distributor that's putting out Diamond stuff, where they just weren't getting Diamond's books. And I didn't understand why I wasn't seeing anything from Dynamite under the shelf. And naturally, of course, that's the company that has lately been publishing more things that I care about. And so their books have just not been showing up. And so I'm behind on some things that I probably would have bought. So I didn't even know this was happening. But I've got a couple things on back order. I'm behind on Space Ghost, and I'm behind on Powerpuff Girls. This cover is very silly. Anyway, I'll see if there's anything else I want to mention here, and if you guys see anything that catches your eye and you want me to click on it, let me know. I'll start looking at comments here in a second. I was a fashion school serial killer. Okay. Good for you. Goals are important. Red Sonja Noir. A lot of Red Sonja stuff lately. Yeah, and then we get to some more indie stuff down here. Let me see what folks are saying in the comments. And then we will move right along. Tyler says Wakanda's been doing space stuff for a long time. I didn't know that. Crazy. You learn something new every day. Hi, Dan Schneider. Thanks for being here. Austin, the team is Captain Marvel, Nighthawk, Gamora, Cosmic Ghost Rider, and Hulkling. Of course, Cosmic Ghost Rider's got to be on a team. And he says that also has a Guardians tie-in written by Abnett. Okay, that's cool. Well, maybe that stuff's all right. Tyler says you talked about Superman Unlimited last time. Oh, I couldn't remember if that's what that book was called. I was thrown off a little bit because that's number 3, and I thought number 1 had just come out. So that's why I wasn't sure if it was that book. Austin, Youngbloods Deluxe, Liefeld is celebrating the anniversary this year, I think. Okay. Interesting. I don't know who cares at all about Youngbloods anymore. But I fought for a long time about reviewing the first few issues of that because it's nuts and kind of unreadable, and it's hilarious. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on. So that's stuff coming out this week, and I'll show you next week, of course, what I end up buying from that list tomorrow. Let me show you what I picked up last week. Like I said, something of a slow week for me. There wasn't anything that we noticed on the list that I felt like I absolutely had to have, and I did miss a couple of things. But of stuff I said maybe I'll go ahead and pick up because this cover was cool. This is the beginning of a new story arc, and I just love Cassandra Cain. So I did go ahead and pick up the new issue of Batgirl. I hadn't bought any of this yet, and I did go ahead and read this, even though just in isolation, even though I haven't been looking at this series. And it does feel like a good jumping on point if you like this character and you just found out she's got a new series. This is another one that I may keep getting moving forward, or I may not. I haven't decided yet. But anyway, this has Cassandra Cain. It's pretty involved. She's being hunted by 3 different swordsmen, or I should say swordswomen. And I don't know exactly what is going on with that plot because it's kind of just like bookending it and putting a pin in it. But that's kind of the ticking time bomb that's happening in the background. We're kind of waiting for these people to show up to try to assassinate Cassandra Cain. And then she goes to Bronze Tiger after, spoiler alert, you always end up spoiling the stuff because, I'm coming in the middle of things. But she's coming to Bronze Tiger after her mother has died. Her mother is Lady Shiva, and we get some background about their relationship, and there's a new surprise character that's introduced that is related to Bronze Tiger and Lady Shiva at the end, which was a really cool kind of reveal. The main reason I'm glad I got this, though, I didn't think this was a decent amount happens in this, even though it's mostly just a big long conversation between those two characters, and it's just really good dialogue writing. This is written by Tate Bromball and art by, I'm gonna botch this all to hell, Takeshi Miyazawa. But I just thought it was worth it for this full-page spread with Batgirl on a horse. That's really the reason I picked it up. Call me superficial. I thought that was a wonderful page, and I was like, yeah, I gotta have that. Like, nice cover, but that full-page spread was cool. And so I was like, yeah, I'll read that. So anyway, I got that. I would recommend that. And then I picked up... I should have been buying these before, and I haven't really been in comic shops much until recently, so I knew this was coming out, but I didn't go seek it out. I got to go back and pick these up. So we're already on book 4 of this, but this is Black Label's Resurrection Man Quantum Karma, and I have not read this issue yet because it just came out and I haven't had a chance to catch up yet, but I did in digital go back and read the first 2 issues today just so I could tell you guys whether or not I thought you should look at it. And I know nobody knows anything about Resurrection Man or cares. It's crazy this is even coming out. I'd love to see the sales numbers on this. Like, I bet 20 people are reading this book. But I think the setup and the premise of this is dynamite. I took one look at it and went, so we're just completely changing the premise and the feel and the atmosphere of Resurrection Man then, right? Because Resurrection Man is not a cosmic premise really in the first place, and it's like, we're doing quantum stuff, we're doing like time travel with Resurrection Man. Like, what are we doing? Who cares? It felt like almost this. I thought just looking at the covers, like cool covers, neat stylized art style, but I couldn't help but wonder if it was kind of like just desperate for attention, where it's like, here's this property we haven't done much with yet. How can we like tweak it to make people care? And then I read the first issue and I was immediately sold on it. I won't give too much away. I think people should check this out. Even if you've never read Resurrection Man, I think it stands alone great. The only thing you have to know about this character, and it gives it to you at the start, is just the initial premise of a guy who has lived a long time and is sort of immortal and sort of not at all, because every time he dies, he comes back to life with a different superpower. And he doesn't collect powers, they always get replaced. But the idea is his power is related to the way he dies. And so the premise here, in the original Resurrection Man series, which is, I believe, both Abnett and Lanning, and I'm going to finally try to review the first arc of that with Austin in the not too distant future, because I've never talked about past the first issue, but I bring it up sometimes because it's a series I like. And it's a thing I stumbled upon years ago in a collection I bought where I got all of the original series and decided not to sell it because it looked cool. And I read the first few issues, like, yeah, I'm gonna hang on to this. And it's kind of like my big obscure DC character that nobody cares about, and I think that's part of why I like it so much. It's just like I I feel like I've got that one because I'm so mainstream guy. I feel like I've got that one character that I can kind of claim ownership to that nobody else cares about. So it's always exciting when something else comes out for it because we never do anything with this character. You have the original run, you have New 52, which was nuts that even happened, and now this, and I'm pretty sure that's it. So yeah, I have an almost complete Resurrection Man collection. I got to get the rest of this. But anyway, so the idea here is, or let me backtrack for a second. With the original series, Mitch Shelley, if memory serves, because it's been a long time, that book opens where he's got amnesia, and I don't usually like amnesia plots, but I like it fine there. And there's this question as to how long he's even lived. And here we go back, and I don't know how much of this information is new, because it's just been a long time. But we go back and we kind of chronicle the history of this character and how far back he really goes. And we go through, like, his name changes and his life changes, status quo changes. And he goes back at least to World War II, if not before. And by the way, it's a real dark book. There's some super messed up stuff that happens in it. And I always felt like the original book felt like it wanted to be, and I'm not sure why it wasn't, like it wanted to be a darker, like imprint kind of book, not mainstream DC, but it somehow was connected to DC stuff, and Supergirl shows up in that book, and there's other connections to DC characters, but I always felt like it really wanted to be a Vertigo thing, and so this is kind of realizing it more as a Vertigo-esque thing, but it's in Black Label. But anyway, so the idea is Mitch Shelley finally, he's calling himself something else, but he finally has had a family and lived a whole life and didn't die anywhere in the interim this time, conveniently. And so he dies of old age. And so then, of course, he comes back again, and the question is, what would be your power if you died of old age? It would have to be related to time. And so the idea is Resurrection Man ends up becoming one of the most powerful kind of cosmic characters in the DC universe by virtue of living long enough to die old and having a power related to time. And he meets another version of himself that has himself been through this and is like collecting up versions of Resurrection Man from different universes that have all gone through this, because they end up being these kind of cosmic entities. And there is a villain who, back in World War II, and this is where it gets real messed up, was a cannibal and ate a piece of Mitch Shelley and gained his power to die and get new powers. And anyway, it's a really fascinating setup. I enjoyed it a lot, and I will probably review that after the whole thing is done. I thought, for whatever reason, it was just 3 books, and then book 4 came out, and now I have no idea how long that thing is going to go. But anyway, Dan Schneider, Resurrection Man is your obscure special book. Exactly. Cedar Sticks, James Gunn, Resurrection Man. I would love Resurrection Man to be in the DCU, but be an HBO Max show. I think that's exactly the right thing for that because it's such a TV sort of premise. And I'm not surprised that we don't do much with it in comics. I'm a little just because it's never sold that well. I'm a little surprised it's ever been an option for a TV show because it just sounds like a TV premise. It's like if we've done Human Target as many times as we have, that's got not one but two different TV shows. Plus that character was in the Arrowverse. How have we not done Resurrection Man? Every episode he dies and he comes back with a different power. It's an absolute no-brainer. So this is a comic I didn't think I was going to buy until they put out this variant cover, and I bought this solely because, and I might get the rest of this, but I bought this solely because I showed off last week an X-Men cover that did the same thing. Where it's a wraparound cover with a bazillion different characters, and this ends up being a cool companion piece to that. But this is the new history of the DC Universe, which is written by Mark Waid, and the first half of it, and I haven't sat down and read this whole thing. It's chunky, and I just wasn't in the mood to read a bunch of history notes today. But that's what this is. And we've done this kind of thing periodically with DC, but the idea is going through with all of the various crises and everything and trying to make sense of the entirety of the DC universe and all of the major events that happen in its inception and its early days. And so there's a lot of stuff in this first issue about the Justice Society, naturally, and Sergeant Rock and that kind of stuff. And then the second half of this is a timeline that goes through also major events of the DC Universe, but has panels of the exact issues where things are happening and tells you precisely what issues those things happen in. And so it's, obviously you'll have some events that we're told about in later books, but we're putting in this timeline. So everything here is not Golden Age. There's a bunch of more modern stuff that just fills in this timeline. Like, here's a panel from Return of Bruce Wayne, which I would assume you would periodically see because Batman shows up because he goes throughout time in that, in various the different time periods. But it's a nice little reference thing to have, and I don't know how many issues they're doing for this, but I thought this was like I said, I haven't just sat down and read this cover to cover, but I like occasionally having this kind of stuff in my collection. And I bought a lot of encyclopedias and that kind of thing in the past, so I may go ahead and get the rest of this, but that one's worth it just for that cool wraparound cover. Those are really the only brand new issues I bought last week. And then also at the comic shop, this was a recent back issue, but I didn't even know that this happened, but I bought Venom Separation Anxiety just because that's a classic looking Venom cover. I used to completionist collect Venom, and I just don't like what we've been doing with him, or what it looks like we've been doing with him, because I haven't been keeping up. But like the Eddie Brock Carnage thing, I don't care about. And but anyway, just since the Kate's run that everybody loves, and I really like what I read of it. I never finished it. I read through maybe 25. I just haven't really cared about what we've been doing with that character. It feels like we're milking it for all it's worth, and like the Venomverse, and then Venomverse versus Spider-Verse, and you're just trying to get money out of my wallet every month by constantly having Venom stuff out. It was fun to be completionist with Venom when there was never more than one book out at once, which is such a weird thing to say with that character. And when we weren't constantly even having a monthly. Now that Venom is like Spider-Man, where there's always Venom stuff, I don't care to always have it. I bought... So just back issue wise, real quick, also at the store last week, there was, for whatever reason, one issue of Batman Ninja Turtles 3 that I was missing, so I grabbed that. I thought Power Rangers Ninja Turtles 3 was supposed to start, speaking of threes, I just dropped that, was supposed to start this week. I didn't see that on the list, dude. maybe that's next week, or maybe it got pushed off. I'm not sure, but I put that on my poll. That's supposed to come out soon. And then I took both of my twin daughters with me. They've been having fun going through comics lately, and they both begged me to take them to the comics shop last week. So I let them each pick out a back issue, and Selena randomly picked this issue of Teen Titans number 13. She was just excited about Robin and Superboy, so I bought that. And Cassandra wanted a Spider-Girl issue, and I laid out 6 different covers for her, and she picked the most depressing looking one. I don't know why. She's 4, and this was the issue she picked out for me to buy, which was the coolest of those covers, so I was glad that she went with that, but I was also sort of surprised by it. That is Mayday looking very sad because someone has died. And I haven't read all of this, so I don't even know who has died, but apparently enough said. But not enough said, because I don't actually know who's dead. Does Peter Parker die, finally? I have no idea. I've never read all the way through that. Senior Sticks, Modern Venom is a money pit at this point. Yes, exactly. That's my point. Braden Atkinson, just stop it. I assume he's talking about with Venom. You talking about Venom? Tyler, I don't like what's happening with MJ as Venom. Oh, yeah, Mary Jane is Venom now. Yeah, see, I'm not giving that my money. But I want to trust Al Ewing. Still won't read the book, though. If I heard good things, I would check it out in digital. I mean, I would read it. I'm with you on Al Ewing, but generally, I think I've liked him. But I just don't like that idea. And again, I'm a broken record, but Marvel is constantly just going, what have we never done before? Let's take this thing with this other thing that doesn't go together and sandwich them together. And I always say you can make anything work, but when your whole motivation is just like gimmick for the sake of comic sales and novelty like that, your heart's not in the right place. Usually you're not trying to make it work. You're just trying to shock people for a second, and you're not thinking long-term at all. So, but I'm open-minded for things. It's just, if I don't think it looks interesting or it's like a good idea, I'm not going to, rush out and get it just because it's Venom. Anyway, Senior Six Spider-Girl is very underrated. I agree. Brandon Atkinson, yes, talking modern symbiote stuff. Bob the Hun, they literally turned Spider-Man into the Green Goblin. Yeah, it's kids playing with action figures in the worst possible way. Senior Six, you know who would be an interesting Venom? Daredevil. Well, and maybe this is, I hadn't thought about putting it this way before. Maybe this is actually kind of obvious. I guess what we're doing is canonicizing goofy what-if ideas, right? Like, instead of doing a single out-of-continuity what-if idea in a single issue or a miniseries or a couple of comics, we go, what's a ridiculous what-if idea? And then let's make that the status quo now. And that's what we do. And, I love wild, crazy ideas in comics. But just not everything is an idea that's smart necessarily for the long term. And again, just your heart's got to be in the right place in the first place with doing it, and it just gets real fanficky and sometimes looks kind of desperate. Okay, I'm going to start something new this week. We'll see if I keep doing this, but I don't have any brand new announced comic series to talk about this week like I did last time. So, well, actually, I was going to go through these other Power Rangers books, wasn't I? I'll break this up. I'll do this other little segment first. So, what I want to do now is pick a random cover for this week. And this will be something out of my personal collection. What I want to do with this is I'm going to take my database and randomize it. and a comic will come up. We'll take a look at the cover. That will be the cover for this week. Whether it's a cool one or not, I'm not picking this. This is not me going, here's the cover of the week. It's literally a randomized cover of the week, and that will be our cover for the week. And then for next week, I will grab that comic out of my collection and skim it real quick, and then let you know what actually sort of happens in it. I won't do like a full-blown review, but we'll also see if there's anything else that's fun in it, like crazy ads or interesting letters pages, that kind of thing. I wanted some way to occasionally look at ads and letters pages on this show without having to have a big long segment about it. So anyway, I use the CLZ Comics app. I've talked about this a lot. You can't really see that. And it has a fun feature. So my entire collection is in here. I am nearly at 10,000 comics now. I am, 45-ish, maybe 35 issues away from 10,000. And I've sold things and then I've bought more. So I've been past 10,000 before, but I'm very close right now to 10,000. And I'm going to so I've got a like I said, a cool feature on this where I can shake my phone and then a random comic will come up. And that's what we're going to do. And I will pull it up on the screen and we'll see what the cover is. Here we go. And we have ended up, let me do it one more time, because the thing I got was sorry, that was an independent, like, underground thing enough that I wouldn't be able to get like a cover quickly enough. Okay, well, this is not a super exciting one, but we will pull it up anyway. We're gonna grab whatever the first one is. That's what we're gonna grab. Everybody, give me just a second. So we have ended up today with, nobody get too excited, Brightest Day number 21. That's our cover for the day, folks. Our cover for the day is Brightest Day number 21. So I will pull that issue out for next week. And I've read through this before. It's been a long time. But we'll see. We'll go down memory lane and see if there are any interesting letters or ads or things that happen in that issue that will be worth mentioning next week. I will take a picture of this on my phone so I don't forget it. And we'll see if this segment ends up being worth doing. Okay, so then let me real quick show you the stack of Power Rangers comics I bought for those of you that care about Power Rangers. So I went on mycomicshop.com, which is a website that I highly recommend if you're trying to gap fill and you can't find things locally. So again, support your local comic shop, but sometimes your local comic shop doesn't have things that you're after, like real specific things, especially if there's particular covers you really want for things. And mycomicshop.com has a gigantic inventory, and very often, not always, you'll be able to go through a series that you need, and if you need quite a few issues of it, you can grab them in bulk and get a relatively decent shipping price. So I recommend that over dealing with eBay, at least as long as they've got what you need in stock. Because the problem with eBay is you've got to try to get as much. If you're wanting to buy 20 or 30 issues at once, like I sometimes will do, like I did with this, you'll have to find an eBay seller that has that one store as much of the issues that you're wanting as you can get, so that you're not having to pay extra shipping from all these different sellers. And that's why I like using this when I can. I also like the way they break up their variants, where they make it really clear which covers you're buying, and they separate their items all out by the individual covers, which is the only site I've seen that does that. That doesn't mean it's the only one, but it's the only one I've noticed. So anyway, it was fun cover shopping with this. I'm not totally caught up on Power Rangers now, but I'm a lot closer. So I'm still missing half of the series when we split up into Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers. I'm still missing about half of Mighty Morphin and most of Power Rangers. But I went ahead and jumped ahead, partly just for the Zed stuff, and bought 100, what I was missing anyway, because I had a few of these. 100 through the end of the series before the soft reboot. Through, I think, 122 is where it stops. So I'll go through these real quick and show you the covers that I got. This is issue 100. There were a bunch of different variants for this, as you might expect. A lot of Death Ranger covers, and I would have liked to have gotten one of those. I thought this one was real pretty, and I like sometimes having stuff without the words on the cover. It can be kind of fun to have these sorts of variants. And this one was a 1 in 10 or a 1 in 15 incentive, but it was actually like oddly cheap. So I went ahead and bought that one. That's an issue I might buy again at some point for one of the Death Ranger covers. This is 101. 102 is a really fantastic Ranger Slayer cover that I had not seen before. I was excited about that. 103 is just the 3 season, like extra season 2 Rangers hanging out at the juice bar. 104 is another wordless variant with Mistress Vile. So excited to get her on a cover now. And here she is again, just as regular Rita with Green Ranger. And I think that's supposed to be New Green Ranger, the Matt Cook version, although I'm not sure. Here is 106 with The Vessel. And if you don't know, The Vessel is Zordon's body without Zordon. That's a whole crazy thing they did. Here is Creepy Alpha 1, the evil Alpha. That's 107. 108, another Vessel cover. That's cool. I've read about half of this. I didn't quite get caught up, and I will have to do that at some point. And then, one of the reasons I want to show you guys this is now we get into the zombie variants. And I didn't bring over the other zombie variants I have. I guess I should have done that. I had 3 or 4 of them already. But I think I had like a White Ranger variant, and I forget the other ones. But I'm close to completed with these. But I just think these are really cool and nicely detailed and really pretty. And I don't know what it is with me and zombies, but here is a Blue Ranger zombie cover. That is 114. And a Black Ranger zombie cover. I just love these. And we didn't do like really a zombie arc. Like Death Ranger is you know, kind of close to a zombie thing, and some of what we do in Darkest Hour like I don't know, it's not really zombie, like the Vessel thing's not really a zombie. So some people have noticed these covers when they were coming out and asked me like, oh, did Power Rangers really do the whole zombie thing like a Blackest Night or something? Yeah, not really, but they have these cool variants. And then here is Phantom Ranger. That was a surprising choice. Phantom Ranger as a zombie. Violet Solar Ranger as a zombie. Okay, again, just choices I wasn't expecting. We only have so many of these to do. And then here is, what is the alternate Ranger team during this period? I'm not even thinking of it right now. I'm just so out of it right now. But anyway, that's Zach from the alternate team. The Omega, is it Omegas? I think that's right. This is my favorite, I think. And I'm a little inconsistent with these. I wasn't going for the black and white wordless variants, but this was on my comic shop, the only one of these I could get, so I went ahead and got it. So I'm not, again, totally consistent with this, but I think this is my favorite. This is the Ranger Slayer variant. And Ranger Slayer is now, hands down, my favorite Ranger costume. And so I'm very, very happy to have that. There's the Red Ranger zombie variant, and he looks great. That's easily one of the best ones. And finally, this is my favorite of the covers. that I have here. You guys won't be shocked by that. And it's funny because this character doesn't even appear in this issue, but this is a Zed Ranger variant. And I collect as many Zed covers as I can get my hands on, and I love the Zed Ranger costume. Yes, he does indeed get a morpher in the series, and he doesn't turn good, but he does become a ranger, and it's great. And for a while, he doesn't have his staff, but I guess that's when he gets his staff back. So, yeah, anyway. So those are some recent acquisitions, folks. The only thing left to do really now is to talk a little bit about our trade review, or sorry, to talk a little bit about our trade full review this week. Everybody just bear with me, man. I'm feeling barely coherent, but I'm going to do my best getting through this. So, Absolute Superman, not Ultimate. Again, I was worried that the Absolute line would be trying too hard to just ape Ultimate. It really did its own thing. I'm, like a lot of people, really impressed with it. And, I saw some reviews with Absolute Superman today. I was kind of surprised to see saying, like, this was my first comic ever. Or this was the first Superman comic I ever bothered with. And, like, this line legitimately is getting new people into comics and bringing people back into comics. And we speculate on the channel all the time about what it takes to make people who don't care about comics care about comics. And I really wouldn't have thought a thing like this would work, but I think it's, like, certainly getting some new folks back in, right, and being a completely new thing that there's no baggage. You don't have to know anything that comes before. And with this stuff, a lot less than Ultimate. You have certainly like new versions of characters and mixing stuff up. Where if you're familiar with it, the twists are interesting and like the new takes are interesting. But I think even more so than Ultimate, there just isn't really a barrier to entry. It's more of like a second layer. I think I'm talking original Ultimate, not new Ultimate, but the original Ultimate line with Spider-Man especially, I sometimes felt like I know that there was a whole new generation of kids that grew up on Spider-Man and got their Spider-Man that way, and that totally worked for them. But I found myself reading some of that stuff and going, some of the things Bendis is doing in this book, I don't know if I would be as interested in, if they would be as cool, if it wasn't a variation on something I was already familiar with. And I feel like what I've read so far with the Absolute books, just Batman and Superman, because I haven't looked at the others yet, I am definitely having that some, but they are such reimaginings that I can imagine coming in with them and not needing to know what certain things are to care about them. And so, I don't know, they're getting that right. It's cool. Anyway, so I read the first 7 issues of Absolute Superman. We're up through 9 now. And I advertised today I was just doing the first 6. I was too curious about the Brainiac issue after that, which is actually the one issue I bought of this series. And I didn't realize that we weren't going to really get much of a sense of Brainiac yet. He's been very looming in the background. And until you get to 7. So I was like, yeah, I better go ahead and read 7. So I did go ahead and do that. Let me pull this up. So Jason Aaron with art by Rafa Sandoval. No relation to John Sandoval, who works with us sometimes on the channel here. So I guess the first thing I'll say is, because I've been hearing a lot of... Well, I say a lot of. Austin has said that Batman he agrees with me, is a good book, but it's actually the weakest of the Absolute books. And I'm hearing a lot of people saying various of these are the best, and I think people are agreeing with Austin that Batman's not necessarily the best of these, even though it's been the best selling. between these two books so far, I will say I am still enamored more with Batman. I didn't have the shock, the gripping. I have to uh power through this, and the kind of page turning thing with this that I did with Batman, where I just could not put that book down. And with Superman, I really intrigued by a lot of its ideas, its social commentary. Its Krypton is fascinating, and just some like really cool, fresh, original choices. And just like with Batman, in going a very different way and breaking lots of rules, and it's still at the end of the day feeling like a legitimate interpretation of Superman. It absolutely has all of that. I'm not finding it as entertaining as Batman. It doesn't have that punk rock factor that Batman has, and it shouldn't. I like that it's doing its own thing. I just think that my I don't know. I don't even know if I should say personal taste, because Batman still feel absolute Batman still feels like a thing I shouldn't like, but I do. And I don't know. Maybe that's the big thing that is kind of unfair that Batman's got over this for me, is just I'm not gonna open every one of these and have that same experience of here are all of these individual, really dumb seeming ideas that I should hate, but you put them all together and it's perfect. I don't think this is anything like as counterintuitive as Batman is, but it's not just another Superman origin either. It does fulfill that kind of promise that Absolute has of its of it's trying really new things, and it is breaking, like I said, breaking the rules, doing some real different status quo stuff. So the and I'm gonna be minor spoilers with this. There's stuff I'd love to talk about that I'm not going to yet, because I want to deep dive with this later with Austin, and I want to make sure that people get to experience this for themselves. So the point of this is more to say, should you read it or not, and to give you the basic, gist of this, and let you see some of the panels and get a sense of the art. So first of all, I will sign Flip Green with this. I am definitely feeling this. I will read a couple of the Patreon reviews later and see what some of our viewers are feeling about this as well. But right away, I'll lay out some of the big differences with this against your standard traditional Superman origin. So the first thing is we have a Superman that, like Supergirl, actually grew up on Krypton, or at least lived there for a few years before he was sent off in a rocket. So he does get his initial education on Krypton, and he did not get sent off as a baby. Another big difference is Jor-El and Lara are in an opposite social class to what they usually are on Krypton. And this is all about, this is a very political book, which might put some people off. So I'll just get that up front. A lot of social commentary about social class warfare, about governments controlling information, controlling population, telling people one thing and doing another. And one of the cool twists on Krypton in this, to me, is the ruling class is aware that Krypton is going to explode, and they put out misinformation and tell their citizens that is not happening. And there's a lot of the social commentary is about anti-critical thinking, and about what advanced technology is doing to us if it's used by our leaders in an oppressive way. And so people are on Krypton, even though it's very advanced, not allowed to really think for themselves. and when they try to do that, they get stomped on. And you're already being stomped on to some degree if you're of a lower class, of course. And some of this is on the nose. Some of this we've seen in lots of science fiction stuff before. You can decide if it's too obvious or if it's just the classic way you handle this in a science fiction story. I lean more toward the latter. But like I said, Jor-El and Laura are of the lowest class. And one of the best ideas in this, and another big difference, is the Superman S is no longer the crest of the House of El. Now it is the crest of the lowest caste and the kind of worker bees of the society. And they wear it as a point of shame. And there's a hierarchy where, depending on what crest you're wearing, people know how superior or inferior you are. And I would describe Krypton in this as like the Titanic, where once it's about to blow up, the just like you always hear with the Titanic, where you have people of different social classes on different levels of the boat, and like it's easier to get off and survive if you're not in the underbelly like the lowly workers that were on the Titanic. Well, the ruling class of, and again, minor spoilers, the ruling class of Krypton knows the planet is going to explode, and they're actually building spaceships to evacuate just the elites. And they tell everyone else again that there's nothing to see here, nothing is wrong. And I really like that as a choice. That's a thing I've never seen before, and I feel like Jason Aaron has a real kind of plausible, cool, logical way of handling his Krypton through this lens of social commentary, right? Where he says, whenever you're doing a new Krypton or a new Superman origin, you always have to ask, why don't Jor-El and Laura try to save more people, and why don't they try to save themselves? And in this version, they try to save as many people as they can. So they build a space ark, and they try to take all their neighbors with them. And they get a bunch of people up in the air, and unfortunately, they get shot down. Do they get shot down, or is it just pieces of the planet hit them? I think maybe it's that second thing. And anyway, it's not important. It blows up, and everybody dies except, of course, for Kal-El. And this is a Kal-El before Clark kind of Superman origin, to the point where he is never Clark Kent. The status quo when he gets to Earth is very, very different, and I'll mention that here in a second. But I know this is very involved. Like, even in doing a non-spoiler thing, it's hard to talk about this for a short period of time. Anyway, I'll do my best to get out the important stuff. But you've got another kind of neat departure in the way he's handling the ship, because the ship is also the costume, which is, I think, a really neat idea. So he's got a flying spacesuit that can basically transform into a larger craft. And that's why he ends up being the sole survivor, because he's the only one that survives that crash, and then he's able to just take his suit and go out into space. So as far as getting off of Krypton and what the status quo is like in this versus a regular Superman, what the big differences are, we're in some ways it's going all the way back to Superman's roots and being really classic. And that's a way in which it's really different from Batman, where Batman is so reimagined. And this is like, let's take the the kind of Krypton obsessed stories that we do a lot now, will make it a lot less Last Son of Krypton and a lot more just like Kal-El of Krypton. But mix that with the social crusader of the 30s and 40s, that version of Superman, and when you blend that together, you get this really cool version of Superman who is conflicted in a real endearing kind of way. So, like, he's more jaded than I usually like my Superman, but what he's jaded by is this, like, righteous anger where he's seen a caste system like that destroy one planet, and he gets to a new one and he's seeing the exact same thing happening there. And the S on his chest comes to represent, I mean, like, I guess kind of hope, but the point of it is he's the crusader of the people. He's the symbol of the people. And it makes the crest kind of like stand for something really profound, I think, where he's taking what was a mark of shame on his planet and he's turning it into a mark of pride and a thing that says, your government doesn't care about you, but I do. And like the most powerful being on the planet, like actually cares about you and wants to help you because he watched his parents go through the same thing that you were going through. There's a lot of interesting and maybe sometimes, to be fair, easy parallels between like characters on Earth and characters on Krypton. For instance, and I've mentioned this before, but one of my favorite scenes is a flashback on Krypton, because we're doing a lot of intercutting between the last days of Krypton and Superman's early days on the planet. And Jason Aaron likes this structure a lot. It reminds me a little bit of what he does in his Thor run, where he's jumping back and forth between different time periods. And it's not arbitrary. He's constantly talking about thematically the same ideas between these two time periods. And one of my favorite scenes is when Kal-El gets in trouble at school for not using AI to write a paper because he's using his own brain. And the logic he's given by his teacher, of course, is it's more efficient because all of the knowledge of Krypton is in this AI, and it's not logical, it's not right to write it yourself. And it also speaks to tradition. And there's all this gaslighting that's happening to the people of Krypton. And this reads, again, real profound and relevant. And it hits kind of close to home with some things that are arguably happening in our society now. And the same thing happens to Lois Lane on Earth, where so she in this is not a reporter. I kind of like the ways that Aaron makes her still traditional Lois Lane, but she's a soldier in this. So she has been brought up by her father, who is still General Lane, to become a soldier herself, and she's working for Lazarus, which is ostensibly supposed to be the good guys. They have the peacemakers. That's one of the oddest ideas in this. I showed a panel earlier with them where instead of a character named Peacemaker, you're taking that outfit. And I don't know, I never would have expected this a long time ago, but now Peacemaker has his own TV show and he's very popular, and so we're finding a way to integrate that in this, where it's a whole team of soldiers that have that worldview of peace at any cost, which is, of course, not peace at all. And again, they're ostensibly supposed to be the good guys. They are run by a corporation, so we're dealing with kind of like big government and big business in bed together. Again, it is very political, and Lois works for the shadowy company, Lazarus. And there's a big reveal about what Lazarus is. I won't tell you what that is. I was very surprised by it. I wasn't expecting it. And there's this big question that Lois is ultimately going to have to answer of, is she really on the right side of things? And Brainiac runs Lazarus and is this AI that expects you to follow his suggestions to the letter, and he himself is gaslighting Lois, where anytime she tells him what she wants to do with something, he like twists her words and pretends like he's just an algorithm that doesn't know what she's talking about. It's actually manipulating everything behind the scenes. This Brainiac is absolutely terrifying. I love issue 7. I think it's my favorite issue so far. There's also, I'm jumping around, there's also some really interesting paralleling with Brainiac and Jor-El and Laura, where he is also at the lowest of a caste system when we first meet him. Interestingly, I won't talk too much about this, but there's a whole collective of Brainiacs, kind of like the Borg Collective in Star Trek, and he is at the bottom rung of that, and so he's oddly sympathetic, but in a real messed up and twisted sort of way, and he kind of comes from the same place that they do. But anyway, getting back to the parallel I was making with Superman and Lois, they both have the same thing where an AI is expected to do their thinking for them and do their writing for them. And Lois is not supposed to write reports herself. She's supposed to have the AI do it. And that's kind of a cool, if not, again, somewhat easy parallel. Then we also have a parallel with Jor-El and Laura and ultimately the Kents, and I was really surprised the Kents are in this. I don't want to talk about too much with what we do with them, but we do actually get there, and there's a lot of foreshadowing to them where you're like, how are they even going to be involved in this? Because they can't raise Clark because or like Kal-El in the Clark, because he doesn't come as a baby. We sort of do that and we sort of don't. But anyway, at the beginning of this, we part of the social commentary is the government controlling everything, and governments and big businesses both, and forcing you to pay for things that should be free, like the rain to make your crops grow. And that happens on Krypton to Jor-El and Laura, who are of the working class and are having to like till the soil. And then we do the same thing on Earth with our farmers. And I think this is a really great way to show we're making all the same mistakes that Krypton did, not just environmentally, but also in the way we're treating people and not working together and not having sanctity for life, and the elites only caring about themselves, and the whole, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, that whole thing. And I think it works very well. I think some people might not find this especially entertaining because it's so, again, almost oppressively political, but I do think it's really smart about it, and there are fun things that happen in it. Also, Superman is very likable and has the values that at least a Crusader Superman always has, but he is fighting against a rage that you don't usually see Superman fight against, which is where the challenge to his hanging on to his morality is so much greater because he saw Krypton die and he's seeing Earth do the same thing that happened to Krypton. And so we've, in a way, kind of blended Superman with Supergirl in this, where he has the same kind of rage that she does, or at least he's building towards it, and really is really fighting that and really doesn't want to have that rage and is worried that he's going to become something he doesn't want to be. There are places where he goes, I just can't even go fight that bad guy because I will kill that bad guy and I don't want to kill. And I really buy it. Again, it's the right kind of conflicted for this character and for what he's going through. Another really interesting departure and yet also a thing that makes it feel like it's going back to the roots is you have a Superman who doesn't exactly fly. As far as I understand what's happening, his suit lets him fly, he himself doesn't. So the yellow sun does give him a lot of his powers. He's still got freeze breath, he's still got heat vision, he's still super strong, I think. But he doesn't like defy gravity. Or does he? Because there is a scene where he's like floating above a bed, kind of like in Smallville, and I wasn't really sure what that was about. But what it seemed like was going on. Again, I've given this one read. What it seemed like was going on is the suit flies and is propelled by this dust that it creates, which I think is supposed to be a metaphor for like the working class that Superman comes from, where like he tills the earth and he's like of the earth, and maybe there's like a salt of the earth thing happening. And so that creates his cape. Like his cape is almost like nanites or something. And he's able to do various things with it, almost like Spawn. And that was a really odd, different kind of choice that I don't totally know how I feel about, but like it's interesting. Dan Schneider, Golden Age Superman is horrifying and essentially fascist. The Superman is way more heroic. Yeah, but is still kind of starting in that place of being, like on the street and like for the oppressed. Starting with that idea. So he's not super violent about it, but there are places where he really wants to be, certainly. If I had to give this a best thing, worst thing, sorry, it just took me a while to break that down. I would say best thing. I would almost say best thing and worst thing are both social commentary. I would almost say that because I found this to be a less fun read than Batman, just because of how much it hits close to home. But it's also really thought provoking, and it's just really thoughtful about those ideas. In going to more like just story character comic book stuff, I guess I'd say the best thing is this new version of Krypton. I really like, and I like how much Superman loves where he comes from, and how I like the details in what Krypton looks like and how alien it is, and like Jason Aaron in not too many issues manages to really build that world, and there's a lot of really fun, again, kind of alien locales and foliage and that kind of stuff. And then worst thing with that would be, and maybe I'll like this more as I'm going along, but it's a little slow at the start for my taste. I mean, like the first issue is almost perfect, but like it's not in the clear arcs that Batman seems to be, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But like I said, it's not the page turner that book is for me. And like 7 issues in, I feel like I'm still in the same story arc. It's a little decompressed. But that's really my only complaint with that. I think I do like it quite a bit. Dan Schneider, are you excited for this Batman and Superman to meet? What do you think that will be like? At the moment, I can't imagine what that's like. But I do feel like this Batman and Superman would maybe in some ways get along more quickly, more readily than some other versions. I'm hesitating saying that because I feel like recently I said they would hate each other, but if I was talking about those versions, I'm not sure why I said that. I'm trying to remember what the context was of that if I said that, because and maybe now I've just read more of this, and I'm getting the Superman better. Uh, that is a Batman that is not part of an elite class or a ruling class, and he's like he actually has some things in common with Superman's parents. Like he's an engineer, and he's about constructing things. And he wants to like rebuild Gotham as a better thing. And he's super hyper violent, and they would have issues with each other with their methods, I think, but they would certainly have a lot of the same motivation, I would think. I think that's a Batman and Superman with backgrounds where they have a little bit more in common. Chewbacca's Lover says I said that on last week's show. I thought I said that. I'm not sure why I said that. Because reading more of this, I'm seeing the ways in which they might get along. So I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, there's a lot more I could talk about with this, and I would like to down the road. I'm sure Austin and I will cover this at some point. And I did talk quite a bit about that, but it took a little while to break that down. And also, my brain is barely functioning, so hopefully, I said something that made sense there. Anyway, I'm gonna bid you guys farewell here in a couple minutes. Let me go ahead and see what some of our patrons said about this. This book. Austin says best thing either Krypton or how they portray Superman as the defender of the downtrodden and how both fit together. Yeah, exactly. I basically said the same thing. I agree with you. Worst thing, Lois having an origin for enjoying writing. I don't know. I kind of liked giving her all of her journalistic instincts while she's a soldier. I think it's kind of cool that she still ends up being in an investigation role, and that she's having to write reports like she's a journalist and insisting on doing it herself. Maybe you're right that it's a little bit silly that she comes to like this epiphany, ooh, I like writing. Maybe you don't have to have that, but I do think it's cool the way we get the journalistic stuff in there even while she's not a journalist, and that doesn't feel forced. And he flips green. Cyril and Pigs Fly. Best thing, I really love their Brainiac. Super menacing. Super menacing. And I like that he doesn't seem to come from Krypton this time. Worst thing, I don't have a great sense of the relationship between Clark and Lois. To be fair, it has just started. Yeah, I agree with that. And that's part of what feels a little bit slow about it. He says, green sign flip. Give it a try if you haven't. Yeah, I'm definitely recommending it as well. And super curious to look at these other absolute things. Let me just check Patreon and make sure there aren't any more of these. Those were from Discord. Chewbacca's Lover, not as good as Absolute Batman, but still a really good reinvention. I like how the powers work. The way Brainiac is handled is insane. Yeah, insane. There's a lot of good Brainiac right now, man. I also really love the one in My Adventures and find him super menacing, and that's like the best possible casting choice. Okay, let me just check comments again real quick before I head out here. And didn't see any super chats tonight, so I will pick the book for next week. I don't know what it'll be yet. I'll have to give that a little bit of thought. But again, for each week, if you are so inclined, you can throw in a super chat, and you might get to pick the next thing I review on the show. But it'll be fun getting to pick it myself. Nicholas Bodo, I think they would get along, but Superman wouldn't like Batman's brutality. Yeah, and he would also probably wonder, like I do, just why he's as brutal as he is. Dan Schneider, I'm not going to read that because I don't want to spoil that. But I'm going to be cryptic for a minute. But you seem to be right now, but I have a theory about what that is. And I think there's more happening there. Bob the Hun, do you think a Superman adaptation could adapt this Krypton, but not necessarily the rest of it, with the rest of it being more like normal Superman? Yeah, no, I do, because we do lots of variations on why and how exactly Krypton explodes. And the idea of having, again, this oppressive social class system and the government knowing about it, or like the upper echelon elites, knowing that Krypton's going to explode and trying to get everybody off that they deem as valuable. Yeah, you could totally do that. Jareth Gerhardt, when is the Superman DCU speculation stream happening? Austin and I are going to try to do that as soon as we can. We've been talking about it actually, and I don't think it'll be this week, but maybe next week. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed our second episode of Comic Book Late Night Unlimited. I'll be back again next week with another one. Again, I don't know what I'm going to be reviewing yet because I'm going to have to pick it and figure that out. But I might try to read something more indie. I might go for not a superhero big two thing. Oh, and I should also say I'm surprised not to have Lex Luthor in this universe quite yet. But there are two issues I'm missing, and maybe he's already introduced. I don't know yet. Anyway, I'm going to get going, but thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you again real soon with lots more things here on Geekvolution. I'm going to be doing a Captain Logan show tomorrow night with Jason at 7 o'clock. We haven't done one in a long time. No idea what we're talking about yet, but we will come on and stream for you and interact, and we should have a great time. In the meantime, I was Captain Logan, and thanks for watching. Support your local comic book shop. See you later. Sorry, real quick. Chewbacca's Lover put in a $2 super chat right at the end and asked for absolute Martian Manhunter. It's just going to be nothing but absolute, I guess, for a while. I don't know how many issues we've had for that so far, though. Chewbacca's Lover. I think that's only gone for like 3 or 4. So I'm wanting to get like a whole trade's worth for this show. But send me a message and we'll talk about it. Because if enough of that has come out, I will go ahead and do that too. Austin says I think 4. I can do 4. Yeah, that's fine. That's probably enough. I can do 4. Okay, so for $2, Chewbacca's Lover gets to pick that for next week. Absolute Martian Manhunter. It's the Absolute Show with Captain Logan. See you later, folks. Bye, everybody.